Check, check. Hello, welcome to the Comedy Workshop. I'm Rik Deskin, your host. Thanks for being here, everybody. Tonight is a very intimate show. Sometimes we have these very intimate shows, and they're really meant to be an opportunity for us to grow and to develop as comedians. So I appreciate the intimate shows. So lots of stuff going on in the news. I brought some of my weekly news magazines with me. Today in the Seattle Weekly, I just picked up. The cover is Velvet Goldmine. It's our supervillain, Rex Velvet. Have you guys heard about the supervillain? Seattle's got a supervillain that is...
Is it a response to Phoenix Jones?
It is a response to Phoenix Jones, exactly. There's this superhero movement that's happening across the country, the real life superheroes. And most of them are kind of like, nerds that put on costumes and outfits and they go out and hand out candy to homeless people and do good deeds for people. But in Seattle, we have the notoriety of actually having a vigilante, Phoenix Jones, who actually takes some matters into his own hands and he carries around a handy-dandy pepper spray canister. So while the meme that was going around a few months ago about the casual pepper spraying guy from Berkeley, whatever he was doing, Phoenix Jones actually got in trouble, had to go to court for not casually pepper spraying people, but questionably pepper spraying people. So it's very controversial for Seattle. And I'm explaining this because we've got a visitor from New York who may not have heard about this exciting activity. It's like Gotham City here. It's crazy. So, which is why I wear my SpiderMan shirt. I'm into comic books, and SpiderMan's coming up. The Amazing SpiderMan opening up on July 3rd. A new rendition, only 5 years after the last trilogy. Totally different cast and different director. Sony is really trying to milk the cash out of the Spider-Man franchise. But in our city, we've had Phoenix Jones for I guess about 2 or 3 years now, and there's actually a whole band of superheroes called the Rain City Superheroes. But they don't get much press. Only Phoenix Jones does because he always seems to be where the media is. So May 1st, this guy Rex Velvet decided to initiate this viral campaign against Phoenix Jones as his arch nemesis, or nemesis, however you say that. Phoenix Jones actually, invited him to meet him for a 3-minute fight with weapons of his choice, except for guns. No guns allowed. And Rex Velvet's response was, "Well, my evil is done virtually and psychologically." So he's basically doing all this stuff non-combatively to chip away at Phoenix Jones' resolve. And it's actually very, very entertaining and amusing, and only in Seattle can this kind of madness exist. What else? Earlier today, I was with my son, taking him to the Seattle Drum School. It's a place where a lot of drummers teach kids how to drum, but they also have piano lessons there. I don't know how, but apparently piano is like part of musicology. It's the core of music theory. I did not know that until today. My 16-year-old told me this. So, I'm learning new stuff all the time. But we were talking about impressions and how I always do. My impression of my 16-year-old is like, "Whoa, Dad, are you sure? It's not, no way, it's true love." That he talks very breathy and very kind of hybrid of Keanu Reeves and Nicolas Cage with a taste of Andy Samberg doing an impression of them. So it's like a combination of all those guys. So he was trying to do an impression of me, and he ended up doing an impression of me doing an impression of himself, which it came out kind of wonky. He was like, "I'm Rik Deskin, and I'm doing an impression of my son." It sounded basically like my impression of him. There was a slight, different kind of tint to it. So I told him to keep at it. Impressions is all about exaggeration, and you take a taste of that impression, and then you kind of exaggerate it. Like, say, who's someone that? Oh, I had a teacher at college. I went to Cornish College of the Arts, which is a Seattle arts school. This one teacher who was my mentor in my junior year, and he basically told me at the end of the year, after we had done our outdoor Shakespeare production, his words to me were, well, I don't think you'll be doing much Shakespeare after you graduate. So his voice is kind of like a little bit of Jim Henson as Kermit the Frog with some kind of other thing dropping into it. And but my exaggeration is more. It's probably less severe as the way I've done it. But I like to just kind of give it more of a flavor to it. So anyway, what else? Some other local news. Apparently, prison guards, their uniforms are sewn by prisoners, or were, until this new bill passed. Apparently, the prisoners that were sewing these uniforms were sewing the butts of the pants too tight for the prison guards, and they were also sewing the women's prison guards' blouses too low cut. And I mean, first of all, you have to imagine giving prisoners this job to sew uniforms for people in a prison. It just it seems like you're asking for trouble. I mean, I don't know. I could think of better people to employ for uniforms, but I think it's very interesting that that at least for a while they had prisoners learning how to stitch and sew, and eventually becoming costume designers and directors, and eventually directing Batman Forever and adding nipples onto Batman's costume, that kind of stuff, you know. So that's where Joel Schumacher maybe came from. No, he didn't go to jail. Well, we don't know. Does anybody know what Joel Schumacher did before he was a costume designer, before he was a director? Anywho, so thinking about Batman, you know, Batman, the next movie comes out on July 20th, which I'll be in Disneyland then, but I will be taking a break from Disneyland to see The Dark Knight Rises. I'm hoping that Christian Bale has fixed his vocal problem as Batman. The thing that really disturbed me in the last Batman film, The Dark Knight, is this weird gravelly thing. It sounded like he burned out his voice. He was like, Harvey Dent, Harvey Dent. It sounded almost ridiculous. And for me and for other Batman fans out there, the quintessential voice of Batman is Kevin Conroy from Batman the Animated Series, right? You guys remember that, Batman the Animated Series from the 90s? Am I the only one back when I was back in the day? So that's how Batman should sound, I think. You know, Robin, we must go to the Batcave. It's not this weird Harvey Dent, and then it almost sounds Christian Bale just, you know, he sang in Newsies. I don't know what happened to his voice, but yeah, Dark Knight Rises opens up July 20th. Viral campaign going on about that. Bane's the big villain. The controversy surrounding this movie, of course, is that because Chris Nolan, the director of the current Batman movies, has made them so ultra-realistic, this Batman could never possibly be a member of the Justice League, which is Warner Brothers wants to do a Justice League movie, especially after the success of The Avengers. When The Avengers this weekend at the box office, number 5, still brought in $10 million, number 3 movie of all time, both domestically and worldwide. And what, you know, they want to do that with the DC characters, but really, aside from The Dark Knight, nothing's really been successful. They've got a Superman movie coming out next year, Man of Steel, being produced by Chris Nolan. So, you know, we can only hope it's going to be cool. Zack Snyder directing it. He's the guy that directed, wait, is that the guy that directed Watchmen? I can't remember. But anyway, it looks like it'll be interesting, but we haven't seen any trailers yet. But I think we'll probably see the first trailer with Dark Knight Rises. But I digress. So, you know, Warner Brothers wants to do this Justice League movie, and they had a Green Lantern movie that came out last year. Anybody remember that movie? With Ryan Reynolds? Oh man, it was sort of disappointing. I went into that movie with fairly high expectations, you know, the same way I went into Iron Man. While they had some interesting things from the Green Lantern mythos, they just didn't really hit it on the button, you know. So I was a little sad, and of course, a lot of people felt the same way. That's why the box office really